Just as everyone's MS is different, so is everyone's pregnancy journey. I was fortunate enough to conceive naturally, but I know that this isn't the case for everyone. Today I'm talking with consultant neurologist Ruth Dobson all about IVF and how that might look for someone with MS. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that bell and subscribe to Lived Health. An MS diagnosis can sometimes raise unexpected questions around family planning. Should someone consider freezing their eggs or sperm after they are diagnosed with MS?
In general, not. MS doesn't affect your fertility, so MS itself is no reason to consider freezing your eggs or sperm. However, if you're thinking about having stem cell therapy, this may be discussed with you, as we know that some of the treatments involved in stem cell therapy can reduce fertility.
Is IVF a safe option for someone with MS?
So when we talk about IVF, often people mean a few different things. There's different forms of assisted conception, ranging right from IVF, where people have their eggs harvested, they undergo stimulation protocols, and then have an embryo implanted, right through to assisted conception, where people just have sperm donation. So I'm going to cover all of those in my answers rather than just focusing on IVF, which is a small part of this. In general, these things are safe in MS. Historically, there's been worries about IVF regimes where we're stimulating the ovaries, causing increased relapses in MS. But more modern studies seem to show that actually this isn't the case. We don't know why this doesn't seem to be the case anymore, but we do know that IVF regimes have changed over time, and also MS treatments have changed over time. And as neurologists, we're becoming more comfortable with people continuing MS treatments during IVF. Going through assisted conception, be it sperm donation, right through to IVF is a really stressful process though. And particularly IVF where women are being given hormones can be physically really gruelling. So it's really important that actually you look after yourself as a couple during this process, because it's one of the most emotionally and physically draining processes that people can go through. And obviously if you have MS as well, that's an additional thing to be worrying about during it.
And because it is such a stressful process for people, is there an increase in the chance of relapse?
Lots of people with MS worry that stress can bring on relapses. And I think it's one of those questions that as neurologists we're really bad at answering, because often we just say, well, we don't really have the evidence, it's really hard. And I think it is really hard. I think as human beings, we like to look for a reason for relapses to happen. Psychologically, we don't like to say, well, it's just chance, it just happens. And this is a problem when we look back and ask people, what do you think might have triggered this relapse? People often say, oh, I was stressed. But we don't look at how many times people are maybe stressed and don't have relapses. And that's not saying that stress doesn't play a role, it's just saying it's really hard to understand. I think that if you're going down that route of assisted conception for whatever reason, it's just so important that you do look after yourself as a couple, as a partnership, and go through that together and acknowledge that it is stressful and get support where you need it.
Absolutely. That's interesting what you said about stress, because I always get asked that with my bad relapses that led to diagnosis. People say, oh, were you particularly stressed? And I say, no, if anything, I was the least stressed I've ever been. So it's interesting that it's not necessarily a cause and effect relationship. These things can just happen. But I think we worry about stress, don't we, bringing them on the most?
Yeah, and I think we all worry about cause and effect. We worry about lack of sleep, we worry about life events, we worry about things that we don't have control over. And obviously stress is one of those big things that we don't have control over. And as humans, we worry about those causing like medical harm, causing relapses in our body. But it's not as simple as that, I think, is the short answer.
I really hope that you're enjoying this video so far. Make sure you subscribe to Lived Health for part 2.